Well, in the last year, and this is a relatively new thing, the American left has united behind a new theory of citizenship in the United States. Anybody from around the world can come here for any reason, and once they're here, they never have to leave, no matter what the original justification for being here is, and if you disagree, you're a bigot. The U.S. has a designation called temporary protected status for immigrants from certain countries. We have this because we're a kind country. We try to help. The status is supposed to be a short-term measure, letting people remain in the U.S. if their country suffers a calamity, like a natural disaster, an earthquake, flood, whatever. This program has been around for a long time, and it has been badly abused. El Salvador, for example, received TPS in 2001 after a series of earthquakes. It still has it today. 1/3 of all Salvadorans on the globe now live in the United States. Honduran immigrants have enjoyed temporary status since 1998. Haitians have had it since 2010. The Trump administration has said, geez, this is supposed to be temporary. Let's make it temporary and let the status of some countries expire. Well, in response, the left is revealing what they really think about temporary. They were actually permanent all along. With the support of the ACLU, several immigrants are suing the Trump administration, saying they can't be deported. They claim that the president has described some countries as terrible places to live, therefore he's a bigot. Never mind, the entire justification for letting immigrants come here in the first place is that their countries were terrible places to live. The only thing that matters is this single principle to the left. Anybody can live in the U.S., and they should never be forced to leave, ever. We think that's the principle, but to explain it to us, Ahilan Arul Anandan is legal director of the ACLU of Southern California, and he joins us tonight. Ahilan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Tucker.
So there's an obvious internal contradiction here, which I'm sure you've pondered before, which is these plaintiffs whom you're representing are saying that it was bigoted of the president to describe certain countries as hellholes, crappy places to live, and yet the justification for their being here anyway and not returning is that those countries are exactly what President Trump said they were. So how does that work?
Yeah, I don't think that's quite how we see it, Tucker. You know, I think the government can create a temporary program for people to say 6, 12, even 18 months. But these are countries where people have been lawfully residing here under this U.S. program for almost 20 years, in some cases more than 20 years. And all we're saying is that when the government then wants to change the program and take away their status, tear apart their families, their U.S. citizen children who've been here or in high school, it has to have a very good reason to do that. You know, and they don't have, obviously, a very good reason here. There was a bipartisan...
May I just say that, but hold on, isn't the reason itself inherent in the program? It was a temporary, this wasn't permanent resettlement of people who wanted a better standard of living. Well, we've done it for a lot of people, but this specific program was to say, your country's a disaster, you can come here till it's better. 1/3 of all Salvadorans on planet Earth now live in the United States. So there's been a massive resettlement here. Why is it unfair to hold them to the standards we agreed on in the first place?
Well, two things, Tucker. You know, first, it's not a question of whether or not you can have a good reason to terminate it. It's the question is, did the government actually have such a reason here? Right. So we know that there was a bipartisan proposal, Republicans and Democrats, that proposed to the president granting permanent residence to these people because they've lived here so long, and he rejected that in this meeting where he made this comment that I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. That
well, don't. I mean, everyone knows what, but hold on, that's not relevant, actually, because none of that became law. So he had a conversation with someone. It didn't go through the Congress. No executive orders were issued. So it's not really material to the statutes on the book now, which describe a temporary program, and you're saying that it can't be temporary because why?
No, it definitely can be temporary, Tucker. Our point is this: once it's happened for a long time, right? So, and some of our plaintiffs are not just immigrants, right? There's like the 14-year-old high school student born and raised in Northern California who's studying government, who's studying the Constitution, you know, who knows that the Due Process Clause protects persons and not just citizens. She now has to either leave the only country that she's ever known to go live with her parents in El Salvador, or her family has to be broken apart. There's 100,000 other children in the same position.
I mean, look, you're not going to surprise me with stories about people suffering, because a lot of people are suffering, including millions of American citizens, and I feel sorry for all of them, immigrant and American alike. That's not really the question. The question is, what's the best for the country? But the question also unresolved, which you have not yet answered, is, are they saying either that it was racist to describe their home countries as terrible places, or are they saying that their home countries are terrible places and that's why they can't go back? You can't really say both, can you?
No, I think you know, the position in the lawsuit, and certainly if you look at the designations that supports this, is that the justifications for granting temporary protected status to people from El Salvador and Haiti and Sudan and Nicaragua remain in place today. The countries continue to be racked by violence.
But about Trump's, so Trump's comments, the ones that were reported, and we don't really know exactly what he said, but I'm willing to believe he said that, because it's true, by the way. A lot of these countries are hellholes. Are you taking issue with that? Are you saying that it's wrong to call Haiti a hellhole, but no one here from Haiti can be returned to Haiti because it's a hellhole? I mean, will you just engage with that core thing?
Right. Yeah. No, Tucker. You know, that the president is reported to have said is that we don't want people from these asshole countries.
Right.
And so it was an expression of animus against them. And it's not the only statement. I mean, the president has made many statements about, you know, everybody from Haiti has AIDS. You know, I don't want to go through them all, but a number of really derogatory statements against people from these countries.
But who cares? Why is that relevant? Look, we just engaged with this fact. 1/3 of all Salvadorans in the world live in the United States. So it's not like we have special animus towards Salvadorans. 1/3 of their entire population lives here. It's kind of hard to argue that we're racist against Salvadorans, isn't it?
No, it's not about in fact, America is not, as a whole, racist against it. And we have a long history of people from China after Tiananmen Square, from Hungary back in the 50s and 60s after the problems there, people obviously from Central America as well, that we have allowed welcome to this country because of the problems that are existing in those countries.
But
and the problem
20
here
years is not
people
temporary.
Want to do. Exactly, Tucker. And if the government had ended this program, as they did, for example, with the Ebola temporary
so if we hadn't been so nice, we wouldn't be punished for. Wait, you just perfectly crystallized the whole problem with our country and Western civilization itself. If we hadn't been so nice, we wouldn't be under attack now. We're being sued because we made the mistake of being kind to immigrants. That's what you're arguing.
Well, no, I think we've sued because when the government wants to tear a set of families apart, and we're talking about American children, school-age children, it has to have very good reasons for doing that. And we don't think the government has shown.
Okay, if they're not asshole countries,
right, I mean,
then it's not so terrible to go home. Right, I get it. I'm sure they're nice. I think these are fair questions. We're out of time, and but thank you for coming on and explaining that. I appreciate it.